Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford studio this morning. Camera working? Yeah, okay, we're all good. Up on the YouTube live stream. Today we're going to talk with former Mississippi Governor Ronny Musgrove. We're going to talk some election dynamics in the state of Mississippi, as there is a very old law that could come into play during this election season. We talked to Mississippi Democratic gubernatorial candidate and Attorney General Jim Hood yesterday. You can find that interview up all the places that you listen to this here podcast. We appreciate you every single day for that. So we'll talk to Governor Musgrove here in a bit. We'll talk some football. We'll go over Neal's picks and more on this Thursday edition of the podcast, brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. For a few more days, a week, you get to enter the free gas for a year sweepstakes. Still opportunity there. You get the Mobile Rewards Plus card. You get at least 8 gallons of gas on a fill-up, and you're automatically entered into that contest with Blue Sky and the Oxford Exxon. You can compete from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He will send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. You can shop it around, or you can let Corey and the people at Clark Ford do for you what they've done for me and so many others who have listened to our little podcast here, and that is hop into a Clark Ford. You'll love the product. You'll love the service after the sale. They take great care of you. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy, and he'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900.
Washington Nationals up 2-0. Neal celebrating that with a Nationals ball cap this morning. For those who are listening to the podcast and not watching the live stream, you're wearing a Cubs jacket, pullover, and a Nationals hat. You are a very conflicted National League fan this morning.
Not really. I mean, it's a big day for the Cubs. Naming a new manager. Cubs are got a lot going on. Chris Bryant's little grievance is going to get heard late this week. It could completely shake up baseball.
What's that about?
I remember back in 2015 when the Cubs sent him down to the minor leagues to open the season.
This is very smart, yes.
They did it, and he filed a grievance, and that grievance is finally being heard this week.
Just now?
And if he wins it, not only does he become a free agent at the end of the season, multiple players all over baseball are going to get a year of service time and move closer.
Either in or closer to it. Yeah.
Yes, it will impact.
It would change a lot of dynamics.
Ronald Acuna, I think, is one of the people who would be impacted. Gleyber Torres would be impacted.
Acuna would be impacted?
For some reason,
really?
I think I read that. Don't hold me to it. There's a list of players.
Okay.
Hello to Jay Tate. So,
see you in this morning?
Yeah, he just got in. Oh. So there'll be.
I keep getting confused about Auburn football being the
right, because you don't know whether it's like Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, it could be Gus.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm not conflicted at all. The Nationals now doing the Lord's work. They've beaten the Brewers, they've beaten the Dodgers, they've beaten the Cardinals, and now they are beating the people who support domestic abuse. So I'm for it. I'm for the Nats. Keep going.
I didn't watch any last night. Apparently, it was a kicking. 6 runs, 7th, I believe, to put it away.
It was 2-2, and then Kurt Suzuki hit a home run to make it 3-2, and then they scored 6 in the 7th, I think. Kind of the Astros sort of fell apart. Strasburg was terrific. Right, 2 wins away now.
It's real. Going back to Washington for 3.
They could get 2 out of 3 in Washington, and this thing's over. They still have Scherzer again, Strasburg again.
Feels like they have to win it in Washington in a way, don't you? I mean, I know you don't have to. You just won 2 in Houston, but Game 6 gets tense if you lose 2 out of 3 in Washington, in my opinion.
Well, sure.
Gets a little funny.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure the Astros right now are thinking, let's just get 2 out of 3 in D.C. and get it back home and see what happens. But it's baseball, man. When hot pitcher, Strasburg was terrific. If he decides to opt out, he made a bunch of money last night.
So, video up at rebelgrove.com. Grant Tisdale spoke to the media last night. Credit to Ole Miss, credit to media relations. He was requested. They got him. Got 2 quarterbacks this week. The other one's injured. Plumlee, obviously, recovering from his scope. I'm pretty sure it's meniscus. Matt was a little weird last night. He refuses to say the word meniscus. I don't know if that's some sort of, in his mind, some sort of privacy thing or what, but it was a little strange. But either way, minor procedure done, moving on. All good with Plumlee there. We'll see how the rehab goes. What we got Tisdale. You can see the video. I thought that given all the swirling things around him, video was the way to go. Let you see some expressions, let you see some facial tics. And he acclimated himself well, as we knew he would. Grant is a very smart guy. Grant has done lot of interviews during his time as a football player. He was the one back in fall camp that impressed me because he tried to learn the reporter's name, shake the hands, do all that stuff coming out of fall camp. And he answered honestly. He was asked, has this season gone as you expected or hoped? And he said no. Said that it is not, that he's doing his best to be a good soldier, that he is ready if he gets an opportunity, that he thought that he acclimated himself well. Thought that he acclimated himself well when he got the opportunity against Alabama, and that, he's rooting for his guys, but obviously the competitor in him, he wants to play, and he did not think it had gone. Because you can see his eyes. There's a point around the 30, 35-second mark where he's asked something, and you can see in his eyes, go, nah, it hadn't. Yeah. It hadn't been that. But here's the deal. At the moment, it's all good. I mean, he's hanging in there, it looks like. He's getting all the number 2 reps this week. And, again, credit to him, credit to Ole Miss. We can put that to bed a little bit for the moment at least. It'll pick back up at some point, but right now it's put to bed.
For the moment. We'll find out here in the next month or so. There's still a month left in the season. This team still has 4 games that they must play. And there's an AD to be hired, decisions to be made by an AD. As you saw in my mailbag, there's a lot of questions that can't be answered. Not honestly. Just can't do it right now. You can't answer where's the program going? What's it going to look like in January? I don't know. How could you possibly know? And I know people are out there saying, well, I know what's going to happen. No, you don't. No one knows. I guess Glenn Boyce might know. He's got bigger problems.
Trying to keep money in the coffers.
Yeah. He's not, best I can tell, he's not focused solely on athletics these days. Got some other issues. Bigger fish to fry, they might say.
He's I think that committee will be in place fairly soon, and then they'll hire an athletic director at some point. But yeah, got some governing to do in the meantime.
Let me ask you this: you think because I know you hear rumors, I hear rumors. Do you think that deep down the AD decision has been made?
No,
a lot of scuttle.
No, I think there are definite candidates. I think there are leaders, maybe even. But no, I don't think the decision is completely made. And now look. I give a lot of credit, just human nature. I think that people are smarter than they are sometimes. So I've been wrong a lot with that premise here lately because I thought, no way that IHL search is going to go that way. I've told you that 1,000 times throughout the process, and Neil's over here going, well, I'm just telling you, crazier things have happened. We've seen it. And I'm going, they'll do this, and they'll figure it out. At the end of the day, I always like at the end of the day. Well, the end of the day is wrong a lot these days for myself when I have these opinions. So that is my – if it was close to January, I think it would be my resolution is that I'm going to give people less credit moving forward. Less credit. I'm gonna go under I'm gonna go over the operation that people are not as smart as I'm giving them credit for. I'm gonna start the process that they're kind of dumb and then work my way from there.
I'm going to.
I think that's what I'm going to do.
I think the AD has been picked, and that the committee is nothing but window dressing. It's not real, and that the decision that has to be made is: do they drag it out long enough to take a decision away from an AD so that he is not held accountable for that decision immediately? It's my prediction. That the decision has been made.
You think so?
I do not believe that there is a legitimate search to be had.
You don't?
I believe the decision has been made.
Is that okay? Hold on. Is that because of what you're hearing, or is that because you just the way Ole Miss has been operated of late?
Both.
So, had the past not been a factor, would you still feel that way?
I would be a little more open-minded.
You're not open-minded right now.
Not at all.
You think this thing's done?
Yes.
It's just a matter of what day he walks into the office.
Yes. It is a matter of whether they want to do it quickly.
I assume it's a he.
Yes. It's whether they want to do it quickly so that he
has a decision to make.
Quote, has the opportunity to make a decision, or do you drag it out long enough where when he comes in, he can say, guys, I haven't had enough time to evaluate the situation properly. Basically, not in these words, but we're going to punt.
Yeah. Sure.
We're going to punt.
What's your guess? Punting.
My guess is that they will push it far enough down the road where he can punt. Where punting would be where it's 4th and 31 and you punt.
But it's almost there anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All you have to do is kick this can 2 or 3 times. Hell, Halloween's a week from today, which means November 1st is the next day. That's the way that works on my calendar. Then you get into November, and now you just don't have time. And you get into December, and we got a recruiting class to hold together.
Someone in a live chat asked, is it a decent candidate, at least with experience, or another GOB? It's a decent candidate. Who he's talking about.
Yeah, I think it's John Hartwell. There.
Okay.
There you go.
Only took 8 minutes of prodding.
I mean, why are we doing that? I don't want to make people read between the lines. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think it's John Hartwell. I'm not reporting it's John Hartwell. There is a difference.
Executive at Ole Miss, AD at Troy, AD at Utah State.
Yeah.
He's done a good job.
I believe he is getting the job. No one has told me that he has the job, but I do not necessarily trust the processes at Ole Miss these days. And so I don't think when someone tells me we're forming a committee, I'm like, oh, whatever.
Committee feels like more window dressing. Pats on back.
They actually brought sitting presidents at other universities to Jackson for an interview for a position that had been filled for months. You want me to take a committee for an AD seriously?
And in the process, pissed off 39 people.
Yeah, I mean.
Wasted a lot of time.
I mean, I'm sure they'll have a committee and they'll put some people who give money in it and they'll let them sit around and have a nice ham sandwich and tell everybody what they think, and it's done. I think it's done. I'm sure I'll get calls today I'm wrong. Okay, cool.
We'll find out later.
Again, not reporting it, just telling you that's what I think. That's what a lot of people think.
At minimum, clear front runner.
Oh, at absolute minimum. And the following is not meant as an insult to John Hartwell, but how attractive is that job today? You don't know you don't really know anything about the chancellor. You don't really know the lay of the land. You don't know what the financial situation is.
It's an SEC AD gig.
It is. And don't get me wrong, I think it can be a really attractive job. I question how attractive it is at this very moment.
Hartwell and another one of those in kind of that line of administrators at Ole Miss during that time period where, frankly, everybody's becoming AD. You had Alan Green and Danny White and all that group there at the same time. Trying to think back a little bit.
Yeah. Had some.
Keith, obviously.
Had some talent in the room. Too. Yeah.
Because Keith and Alan Green were kind of like equals. They were sort of here, and then they started whatever. Anyway, just thinking
Jay says that Steel Panther has a song called Wasted Too Much Time.
We're not reading the lyrics.
Might have to explore those lyrics on Greatest Pod in the South, which I think we are taping later today.
Jay says Jay Jacobs has a chance to be the athletics director at Ole Miss, so we'll look into that. He was always incredibly nice to me. I always really liked Jay Jacobs.
Very nice.
He sorry, you miss elements on the live chat. It is what it is.
Don't look up the lyrics.
So I guess it was an Ole Miss Auburn baseball weekend, and there were that main little press box at Plainsman Park's not very large, and people had gotten pushed over into like this other little area, and Jay just came and hung out with the Ole Miss writers over there for probably 6, 7, 8 innings.
Wow.
And just talking, chilling. Really, really nice.
Just
yeah, it's my only experience with him whatsoever, but I was very, very impressed with Jay Jacobs when I left that day. And, hey, look, if nothing else, we should all honor and observe and wish we had the perseverance of one Jay Jacobs, because that dude, he knew where every skeleton was buried and hung on.
He hung on for a long time.
Hung on.
Long time.
He knew how to stay in that seat.
He got his pension. Damn right.
Oh. I mean, that son of a gun, if nothing else, he showed you how to stick. Yeah, look, I don't think.
I just explained to you, Scott, why you would wait. I just explained why you would wait if it's Hartwell. I just literally said, not to pick on you, Scott, but I told you why you would wait. You'd wait because if you can kick the can far enough down the road, you don't have to put him on the spot right away. Because if he comes in right away, let's say it's Hartwell for
and
fun.
just starts throwing hatchets.
For kicks and giggles, let's say it's Hartwell, and you hire him next week. Well, he got 3 weeks to explore the landscape. And so if he makes the decision not to make a change, that decision gets held against him if things go badly right away.
And your first question is, hey, I need to see the books.
Got to be.
Somebody show me the books. What we got? What are we looking at here?
What are we looking at?
How's the money?
What kind of money do we have to hire somebody? The kind of the easy decision is to kick the can far enough down the road where that decision gets delayed, where you have more time to survey the landscape, more time to let things play out, more time to make a decision, and you're not responsible for that decision for a full year.
And at that point, look, the way that schedule is next year, the way there's a finish to that schedule next year that has some at least opportunistic games in it down the stretch. If you get that. But my point being, this time next year, right now we can play both sides. I can argue. I can play debate team on keeping Matt Luke, not keeping Matt Luke. I can have at it.
Sure.
This time next year, that's not going to be the case. Almost assuredly, there's going to be a very clear, definitive answer one way or the other.
I said this yesterday.
In 365
At the
days.
end of 7 games next year,
After the Florida game.
they will have played Baylor, currently undefeated.
Correct.
Alabama, currently number 1 in the country.
Yep.
LSU, currently number 2 in the country. Auburn, which is currently number 8 or 9 in the country. And Florida, which is currently, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there.
Sure. High.
So they will have played all of those teams at the end of 7 games.
Sure.
Baylor, Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Florida.
Sure.
If they're 2-5, it's over. If they're 3-4, it means they beat one of those 5 teams. I mean, I'm just doing ULM math here. If they're 4-3, they will have beaten 2 of those teams. So it's very simple to kick that can down the road and go, hey, we'll know at the end of 7 games. 2-5, it means you lost all 5 of them. It's over. Now you've got a month and a half to go do a job search. If they're 3-4, you're like, well, they won a big game. Let's see what happens the rest of the way. If they're 4-3, you're like, hey, see, we did the right thing. We gave him
all
time,
good.
And here we are. Simple. It's the easy, requires no testicular fortitude decision. If you walk in right now and everybody's emotional and you don't make a change and then that happens and you're 2-5 next year, it's, see, you wasted a year. You wasted a year. You could have done this. We could have hired whoever, blank, blank, blank. If you wait till December, you can say, I just didn't have time. Had to look at it. Now we have time to make a decision. And that gives...
Yeah, it's easy to kick a can if it's anyone other than Keith Carter.
It's yeah. That's the problem, frankly, if you take the tag off Keith.
It's an immediate
Keith
decision.
doesn't have the ability to say, hey, I'm not there. I wasn't there. I don't know all the dynamics. Keith's been there. He knows the dynamics. There is no honeymoon.
We'll take a break there. When we come back, we'll be speaking with former Governor Ronny Musgrove. Governor Musgrove will join us, talk a little election stuff. If we do that, I'll tell you about community mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. So you can local underwriting and understand your market. Leader in condo financing, the float down option, and with the rates as low as they've been in about 2 years. Good time to talk to Jason, 662-234-2704. Or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
Blue Delta Jeans is rolling. Ooh, I hit the microphone. Sorry about that. Blue Delta Jeans is rolling out a very special limited run edition of jeans made with fabric from the Cone Denim White Oak Mill in Greensboro, North Carolina. In 2017, after more than 110 years of continuous production, Cone Denim closed the doors of the White Oak Mill. At its peak, White Oak was the world's largest denim plant, employing more than 2,500 workers. To celebrate and preserve this iconic American-made textile brand, Blue Delta is announcing a limited run of 30 jeans made with fabric secured at the closing of the mill. This offer is available to Blue Delta customers with patterns on file. To learn more, please DM on Instagram or Twitter at Blue Delta Jeans or email info@bluedeltajeans.com. If you're not already a customer of Blue Delta and you want to participate in special offers like this in the future, schedule your fitting today or stop into the Oxford store right next to the Lyric on your next trip into town. Neal's picks are up on the site, rebelgrove.com. It's part of the Rivals Network. I was reminded yesterday in a friendly way that I am part of a network. I need to be more responsible with some of my behavior. So we're part of the Rivals.com network, where you can subscribe for the same price that you could subscribe for 20 years ago. It's sponsored by Southern Craft Stove and Tap, located off Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue. Southern Craft Stove and Tap places an emphasis on food and atmosphere, mixing the quality of fine dining with the come-as-you-are environment. Your Thursday can be just as bad as your Wednesday. Featuring 30 craft beers and offering a high-quality selection of cuisine and libations, Southern Craft Stove and Tap has you covered for any occasion. Join them for lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch, or have your favorites catered out. Catering orders placed online currently receive $25 off any order totaling $100 or more. So avoid the chaos of parking on the square. Head over and experience carefully crafted dishes with your favorite Southern ingredients. Southern Craft Stove and Tap, Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue in Oxford. The 2019-20 Ole Miss Hoops season just around the corner. Don't miss any of the action of Coach Yo's women's basketball team, Coach Kermit Davis's men's team this season in the pavilion. For tickets, visit OleMissTix.com. The Ole Miss volleyball team returns to the Gillum Center on Sunday, October the 27th, as they take on the Kentucky Wildcats at 1:30. Admissions free. More information can be found at OleMissSports.com. The 2019 Men's Hoops Rebel Flex Pass is on sale now. For just $199, receive a ticket to every home game this season with varying seat locations from game to game. This will allow you to experience the pavilion at Ole Miss from all angles. Visit OleMissTix.com, get your Rebel Flex Pass for just $199, and join the Ole Miss soccer team on Sunday at 5 p.m. as they host the LSU Tigers. Admission is free. Take the family to enjoy some Rebel soccer.
Podcast is brought to you by Master Cuts Lawn and Landscape, premium lawn care throughout northern Mississippi, but a lot more as well, from custom playgrounds, retaining walls, pool decks, outdoor living spaces with paver patios, forestry mulching, and much more. The patch your dream backyard easier than you think. Go mastercuts.com or that same free quote at 662-607-7773. Again, go mastercuts.com. And for those on the live stream, just hang in with us. Be right back with former Mississippi Governor Ronny Musgrove. Governor Musgrove, thanks for taking a little time with us this morning. Election season, the general election always obviously coming up in a few weeks, and actually alerted to this. I want to jump right in here. Alerted into this this very old law about sort of a mini Mississippi electoral college, having to win districts and whatnot. It seems like we're talking about that a little more now. Back when you went through the process, was that something that you were aware of that had to alter your strategy at all as well, or is it just sort of the way the dynamics are working right now?
No, it was not something that altered our strategy. In fact, no one gave it any serious consideration, because prior to that point in time, any time that the provision had come into play, the person who had received the less number of votes conceded and congratulated the other person, because no one took it as a serious part of the election. That's only in modern times, in my election, did that come into play.
So break it down for us. I kind of mentioned it a little bit yesterday as we had Jim Hood on the podcast. Just give a kind of a brief overview of how this law works.
Well, Section 140 of the Mississippi Constitution requires that in order to be elected governor or any other statewide elected official as well, the person winning must receive a majority of the votes, plus must receive a majority of the House district. So we have 122 House districts, so you would have to win in 62 of those House districts, plus get a majority of the vote. Now, Section 141 provides that if no one receives both of those things, then the election goes to the House of Representatives by a voice vote of each member voting for the two top vote getters.
And now that means the new House of Representatives, so this wouldn't happen until January 7th, correct?
That is correct. In fact, it's the first piece of business once the House has organized.
What's sort of your
because...
Go ahead. No, absolutely. Go ahead.
No, Chase, I was just going to say that the House is elected obviously the same year that the governor is elected, so it is the new House members, whomever that happens to be.
You're a pretty good political historian. What's the purpose of this? How did this kind of come into play back when it did?
Well, I believe that back in 1890, when the provision was put into the Constitution, based on everything that I can read and looking at it, obviously it was to put in the control of the legislature the ability to elect someone or to keep someone from being elected that they didn't feel like was the best or the right person. A lot of people feel like it had to do with race. Part of it could have had to do with quote-unquote carpetbaggers and other various people that the old-line Mississippians wanted to make sure was not elected. So it was another safeguard that left the power to decide the governor or the other statewide elected officials in the hands of the legislature. And Chase, many times you hear people say, well, this is a weak governor state and a strong legislature state. This is just another example in our Constitution why that is borne out to be accurate.
There's a case going on in the court system right now that potentially would change this. Do you see that having any impact on this current election?
It won't have any impact up until Election Day, but if what happens in the election produces a lack of one person receiving both a majority of votes and a majority of House districts, then the lawsuit could come into play because the judge has heard the arguments, and the judge could rule that the provision of the Mississippi Constitution is unconstitutional against the U.S. Constitution under the one man, one vote doctrine and ruling. So yes, it could very much have a play in the election post election day.
Obviously, this may be a dumb question, so feel free to say so. Obviously, we're talking about what would the most likely scenario here would be Jim Hood getting the popular vote, not getting enough districts, Tate Reeves getting enough districts. If you're the Republicans or whatever side and you don't want this to go into effect after Election Day, is there not some sort of appeals process that could potentially just push this down the road enough to make it avoidable for this current election cycle?
Well, what happens is that a lot of people say the courts operate at a slow pace. However, when you've got election issues or matters that are of significant importance, the courts generally act in a very timely manner. So what will happen is let's say under your scenario that Jim Hood gets the majority of votes, but Tate Reeves gets a majority of the House districts. And let's just say that the judge rules that it's unconstitutional or rules that it's constitutional. My belief is that the Fifth Circuit would expedite that ruling and would have a ruling before January the 7th. And I know that things don't normally work that way in terms of speed, but when you've got the operation of government, when you've got the state kind of on hold, the courts have generally been pretty responsive, a la Bush v. Gore. You had arguably one of the biggest crises in modern day time, and the court was very, very timely on it and acted in a swift manner.
Hey, Governor, this is Neal McCready. Good to visit with you. You're, as Chase said, you're a bit of a political.
Neal, good morning.
Good morning. You're a bit of a political historian. Probably no one is more versed on state and national politics that we talk to more than you. What do you sort of see happening? The polls show this as a really close race within a couple of points, which is usually within the margin of error. Do you have sort of a feel for which way it's going?
You can't ever tell. In the latter days, I would view Tate Reeves as kind of being the incumbent. He's not. He's the lieutenant governor, but he has been in the midst of the executive decision-making process. The lieutenant governor is both executive and legislative. And so when you get to that point in the election where it's a couple of weeks left and the quote-unquote incumbent has not secured a vast percentage of the undecideds, then many times those go the opposite direction because both are well known by people, but you don't know how the undecided, how the independent vote will break. And I think that both of those are very important in this election. And if they broke kind of overwhelmingly one way or the other, then this probably will not come into play, Section 140. However, if they break for Hood, it would be hard for Hood to win both a majority of the popular vote and a majority of the House districts because you have districts that are so gerrymandered today that it's very hard to, I would think, for Hood to win a majority of those Republican districts. But you can't ever tell. We've seen stranger things happen before, and so depending on how people vote, if they view Hood as being consistent with Mississippi, identifiable in Mississippi, having Mississippi's best interest, then many Republicans will vote for Hood. And I think that in the course of his career, he has had a large number of Republicans vote for him just because he is a typical Mississippian that people feel comfortable with.
General Hood yesterday talked about looking into some opinions and the possibilities of maybe even if not 100%, finding some way for the colleges to have their own semblance of a board. Maybe they report back to an IHL or a different thing. With all the IHL news that's in play right now, from your understanding, what is sort of the legislative ability? What would be a process, if maybe not even done away with, but to alter the IHL in a little more way for the colleges to have more control?
Well, Chase and Neal, that is a constitutional provision. So what you would have to do is you would have to have the legislature pass a constitutional amendment, and then it be put on the ballot. So that would open up the possibility of a lot of different avenues. You could alter or change the makeup or the body of the IHL board if you wanted to do that. If you wanted to have the law be where every public university in the state had its own board with various functions, and then have an IHL board that had kind of general authority over the universities, you could do that. But however you do it, it would take a constitutional amendment passed by the legislature and then voted on by the people. Now, of course, we have initiative and referendum so that if the legislature chooses not to do anything, and there were enough people in the state who secured the requisite number of signatures and had a proposal to put on the ballot for a constitutional amendment, then we could go through that process in the next year or two, because then the legislature would have a chance to respond to that petition and then put on the ballot.
We've got people in our YouTube chat that are asking this question, so I'll ask it of you, and feel free to not comment if you would prefer not to. What you were involved in the process, you wanted to at least discuss being Ole Miss's next chancellor. What were your thoughts on the process and the way that it ultimately played out?
Well, I was a candidate. Certainly, I was disappointed in the way that it turned out. I think that there were a lot of people that were. I believe, though, as an Ole Miss graduate, it causes me the most concern. What the alumni of Ole Miss have felt over the last couple of years is that we were more treading water than anything else. That just didn't have momentum, didn't have a kind of a goal and a directive. And I believe that's why you felt like that there was so much angst among the Ole Miss people. So what you wanted at a very minimum is you wanted a new chancellor that could hit the ground running, that could develop momentum for Ole Miss, and obviously get us headed in a direction that the alumni felt comfortable with, that the alumni felt like that we were going in the right direction, that the students and faculty felt like that the new chancellor had Ole Miss and that responsibility at the forefront. And unfortunately, what has happened is that Glenn Boyce is thrown into a difficult situation because his appointment is kind of mired in controversy. He's constantly having to deal with that, and Ole Miss doesn't have the ability to move forward with momentum. And that's probably the biggest drawback from most Ole Miss people, is that we see kind of the melee or the treading water continuing to happen when Ole Miss should be celebrating a new chancellor, celebrating a new direction, and celebrating the ability to gain momentum and move forward. And so I think that's probably the biggest issue and problem for Ole Miss right now.
Do you mind if I ask you a couple of national political questions as we start getting ready for another presidential campaign that's already started? It seems like they never really end.
You can. It doesn't mean I can answer them or will know, but you certainly can ask them.
So you were elected as a governor in Mississippi as a Democrat. You governed as a moderate. I think you would agree with that. I'm wondering, given today's political climate, where it seems like the right is sprinting as hard as it can to the right, and the left is countering by sprinting as hard as it can to the left, and there's not much in the middle, could someone like you, whether you had an R by your name or a D by your name, could you get elected these days as a moderate in a national election?
You mean no? And that's unfortunate, because I believe when you go back and look at the presidents who have been successful, regardless of their campaigns, their mantras, etc., they generally governed from the middle. They had some successes with issues on the right. They had some successes with issues on the left, but they were typically center-right or center-left. Governing from the middle, generally speaking, allows the greatest amount of policy to be passed and move forward. When you have a polarizing situation, you generally pass lesser amounts of policy, and that's where we are right now. You have a debate among the national Republicans and national Democrats on matters that are not going to become policy. They just are matters to be debated from a theoretical issue or an ideological issue. And so, therefore, you don't get certain things done. And that's where we are right now, in large measure, in our country and in our state. We have started to argue a lot ideologically rather than kind of making the decisions that people expect us to deal with as a state. And so as a governor, I felt like that I was able to garner a lot of Republican support. I was able to garner a lot of Democratic support for issues that I felt like impacted the state dramatically, improving education, having a better economic development strategy, and securing better job opportunities and more jobs for our people, but also improving health care. Those are matters that people can see, they can feel, they can know from day to day in their lives in Mississippi how they are affected by those. Nationally, we're starting to see and feel the same thing. Different things affect us differently, but nonetheless, we're starting to be able to watch and see and recognize when things are either negatively affecting us or positively affecting us. And I believe the kind of governing from the middle allows you to accomplish more than either one of the ideological positions on the right or the left.
How do you foresee this impeachment proceeding playing out?
It looks like that the Democrats are receiving, as they're moving forward, more and more difficult, and when I say difficult testimony, more troubling testimony. The most recent person to testify, I believe, even got the attention of Republicans in Congress. Clearly, this is not in the best interest of the country, either one, when you have a president that's been accused of something, number two, that where you have a president impeached. However, there's a standard that I think as Americans we all feel like that the Constitution provides that we should uphold. So as it moves forward, it looks like that the testimony and the evidence is growing stronger and stronger for the House to impeach. And then it'll be a matter of whether the Senate, on those narrow issues that the House has looked at, will there be enough votes in the Senate to believe that the president did in fact violate the Constitution, and should he be removed from office? So that's going to really be the question. It appears that the evidence is stronger and stronger in the House, but as to whether for impeachment, but as to removal, right now I would say that the votes are not there in the Senate. However, the process is not over with, and so there could be more evidence that could be more and more troubling for members of the Senate, both Democrat and Republican.
Governor, really appreciate the time this morning, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Sounds great. Chase, Deal, you guys have a great day.
Same to you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you.
Was former Mississippi Governor Ronny Musgrove speaking with us there, talking a lot of election, diving off into politics this week.
Yeah,
getting the full gamut here on the
little potato log podcast that could. You just never know where we're going.
Maybe talking
next.
to two governors in 2 days. Trying to talk to a third possibility, but we'll see. I don't know.
You're more optimistic in regards to that than
Yeah,
I am.
we'll talk about that in a second. First,
Okay.
to tell you about Visit Oxford, visit oxfordms.com/events. Go to the page, find out everything going on in town this week. It's not a home football weekend. It's bye week. Well, that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Thacker Mountain Radio tonight, 6 to 7:30 at Off Square Books. As always, the great 38 race weekend. Get a little exercise in. It's 3 mile and an 8 mile on Saturday. You pick one or the other. You don't do both. Or in a half marathon on Sunday, 13.1 for that one. Got plenty more going into the next week as well. So, again, bookmark it. Keep it close by. Find out everything going on in Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com/events.
We put up a Mind on My Money podcast last night. It's sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is based in Madison, Mississippi. They have clients in more than 20 states. They have advisors in multiple states as well. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. They also have the Pinnacle Trust 401k advisory services. If your company's 401k plan isn't operating the way that you would like for it to, it's not producing the results that you would like, get in touch with Pinnacle Trust. Their 401k advisory services team can come in and conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the Oxford Exxon Podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fees. It's pintrust.com, PINNtrust.com. Podcast also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. It's in downtown Jackson. It's a Marriott property. It's home to Soul Spa, the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. It's also home to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. Great cocktails there. The food is fantastic. Chef Caden's terrific. You should try it out if you are in Jackson or if you're passing through Jackson for pleasure or work. I highly recommend the Westin Jackson. And we're brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. I talked to John just yesterday about getting some options for a trip for next summer, and he's going to get back with me next week. It's really simple. You give him some parameters, kind of give him a budget, give him some ideas, and then you don't do anything else. You don't scour the internet for days and days and days. He does that for you. He gives you options, and then you go from there. You can do it as well. What you do is you get in touch with John at 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first book trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
So, I'm kind of hoarse this morning.
Peter Brady moment there.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That used to happen a lot when I kind of get sick, but I don't really get sick much. I'm not a sickly person.
Knock on the formica here, bud.
You'd like me to do that?
Yeah, let's.
Don't tempt the fate here.
Yeah, just
What you're saying?
the weather's changing. It's gonna get cold next week.
I was sick for a while at the very first of the year. Like I had CTs and X-rays and all sorts of stuff going on, and then after that, it's been a pretty calm year.
I know we'd started the search process.
It was bad there for a week or two.
I started to put out some feelers. Hey, I don't think Chase gonna make it.
Yeah, I did. I had multiple procedures, and I think I was misdiagnosed. They said the whole thing was a kidney stone, and maybe it was, but it just hasn't moved. Still, I mean, they say it's just sitting there. I guess at some point, huh?
I want to say something so bad, but I'm not going to.
You gonna hold that one in?
Yeah.
If it was G-Pits, would you say it?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, fair enough. Look at Neil's picks, where Neil had a decent week, 9-2 overall. You got those right.
Yeah. Hey, I'm above 500 2 weeks in a row, man.
Yeah, you're kind of screwing me because I think on SEC games I went 6-1, and then I think I went 0-4 on everything else.
That's all part of the plan.
Well, going into it, we're supposed to pick SEC games. That's the rule: is you pick SEC games.
I told you in week 1 there are no rules, and I make the rules. That's why they're called Neil's Picks. We have the freedom to add any game we want to add. I might add English Premier League if it gets desperate enough.
What's the only reason they're Neil's Picks? Because you never actually win them. So it's there's truth to that, I guess, that you get to make your own rules.
Yeah.
Lifelong Nats fan, yes, he is. Lifelong.
Lifelong. I've been a lifelong Nats fan since the start of the Cardinal series.
You've been pulling for him the whole time here too, though.
Yeah, I was prepared to just kind of move on, and two things happened. One, my brother is a big Astros fan, and he still has not sent me an Astros World Series hat. I asked for one, haven't gotten it, no response, and then the whole domestic abuse thing, that kicked in as well. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to double down on this.
I do like the Walgreens logo. I mean, it's a good logo.
Did you see where Walgreens, they tweeted, "We finally made it"?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
really?
That's great. That's great. I laughed. It was funny.
Yeah, if I get to pick either the Astros with all the crap they've got going on or Aaron Barrett getting a ring, it's a pretty easy decision. So I'm good here.
I know we're going to get into picks. There's a Pete Golding discussion that's going on
in our chat.
In our chat. So here's the thing with Pete Golding. If you're evaluating Pete Golding as a potential head coaching candidate,
Sure.
Don't look at Alabama's defense this year or last year or the year before that. That's not why you would hire Pete Golding. Your decision on Pete Golding would be based on his ability to put together. I'm about to keep this really real. I already had a bad day. I can have another bad day. It would be on his ability to put together a staff and motivate a network to a place where he could recruit at a high level. It's not going to be about his ability to put together a scheme on a given Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Period. His defense is not as good this year because they lost 2 or 3 of their best players.
Dylan Moses would help
a lot. Now, any more than I would say, hey, if they were dominating right now,
pour some water on it.
Yeah, chill. They've dominated for a while. I don't know if you've noticed. They've been in every playoff for the last quarter century. I mean, a little hyperbolic, but not much. It's not, don't get hung up on that. I mean, you'd have to, you got to figure out a way to recruit at a much higher level. That's the bottom line. It's just my opinion. I think if your goal here or anywhere is to win at
8 or better every year,
high level, you're going to have to recruit at a high level. This is a game that is won by players.
Yeah, Ole Miss was really good for a few years because they had really good players.
Yeah.
At key positions.
I mean, it's interesting. When Ole Miss had Laramie Tunsil at left tackle,
the offensive line was better.
The offensive line was better. Teams had a hard time getting to the quarterback.
Yeah. Chad Kelly pushed the ball down the football field.
It's why also when people say, what would you do? I'm like, I don't know. I've never been an AD. But if you ask me what I would probably do if I came in late, I'd probably kick the can down the road so that I could truly dig in. And frankly, I'd start a coaching search. Not a public coaching search, but I'd start digging into about 10 to 15 candidates out there. And then if the team won to a level where I could put that in a drawer, so be it. I'd find out whether I'd dig into a lot of people. Like Lane Kiffin's name just popped up. I'd dig into Lane Kiffin. Not saying I'd hire Lane Kiffin, but I'd ask some questions. What's he learned? Am I looking at Florida Atlantic and going, well, he's not winning there? Well, no one's going to win there. That's not the point. Could he win? Could he win here? Would be the question.
Could he develop resources here?
Yes.
That's the question.
Could he put together a staff and motivate a network to win here?
Yeah, that's the question.
I'd absolutely look at Fickle. No question.
Yeah.
I'd absolutely look at Harsin. Let me tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't get hung up on this. Well, does he have Mississippi ties? Who gives a damn? If you can win, you can win. If you can put together a staff, you can put together a staff. If you can motivate people, you can motivate people. I don't get hung up on experience, and I don't get hung up on geography. You either have those abilities or you don't. I got to figure out, if I'm the AD, whether the people that I'm looking at have that ability or not. Just because Harsin, for example, is in Boise, Idaho, doesn't mean that he can't win in Starkville or Auburn or Fayetteville or Ames. Matt Campbell can win in Ames. He can win in Oxford. Now, can I get him? I don't know. But that whole cultural fit thing, and I know where you're about to say Joe Moorhead and State. That didn't fit, and they should have seen that. But I can look at somebody and have a conversation and know, can you win? It's quite conceivable that Moorhead's just a really good coordinator.
I say that part of the not fit might be that Moorhead's not a good head football coach.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it might be
forget geography. Now, look, they mismanaged him. There are things that have to happen in some places more than others. But, yeah, at the end of the day, are you a good football coach and do you win? Because if you win, nobody gives a crap what you're like otherwise.
He might be the guy that is just really good on a chalkboard.
There are those dudes.
Well, chalkboard guy's not going to win at Mississippi State. You got to have somebody like Dan Mullen who can come in, put together a good staff, and motivate a network. Get people excited.
Form an identity.
Get people engaged. Get people to buy in. Nick Saban could win anywhere. Why? He's a good coach. He's a good evaluator. He puts together great staffs because he's a good evaluator. And he motivates people.
Internally and externally.
Absolutely. He would win anywhere. He won at Michigan State. He won at LSU. And he's winning at an incredible level at Alabama. And he would win in Fayetteville. And he would win in Ames. And he would win in Seattle. Pick your spot. Nick Saban would win there. Maybe not at Alabama level, but he'd win big. So that's what I'm looking at. If it's me and I'm looking at the field and I'm trying to figure it out, I'm not getting hung up on, well, has he ever been at Ole Miss before? I don't give a damn one way or the other. That would not be exculpatory, and it would not be mandatory any more than the AD would. That'd be my one question about the AD thing. This isn't about John. I like John. I consider John a friend. My question would be, if I'm looking at it honestly, and if the answer is yes, then go for it. But if it factors in, then I have to take a step back. Would he be a candidate had he never been at Ole Miss before? And if the answer to that is absolutely, well, then good. Him having been here before is probably a positive. Mm-hmm. But if the answer is no, probably not, then I'm moving on. I'm not getting hung up on that stuff. Because if I'm hiring the right person, he or she has the people skills and the social skills to overcome not being familiar with the area quickly. I mean, listen, this whole, well, Mississippi's different. No, it's not. It's literally the equivalent when someone goes, well, you know, they're not leaving because they just built a house. Where have you ever been where they weren't houses? Pick a town, go there will be houses. People building houses, people selling houses. You can get a house. If you have social skills and you have the ability to motivate people and you have the ability to evaluate people and to put people together that make that have chemistry, that have cohesiveness, if you have that ability, you can do it anywhere. And if you don't have that ability, you will fail anywhere. It's why someone like me will never get accepted at a place like this because I'm too practical. I don't buy into this place is different. Yeah, every place is different, but every place is also kind of the same. You have the ability to motivate, the ability to evaluate, the ability to look down the road. I'm doing Nick Saban stuff with my hands. The ability to sort of project, or you don't. It's like the people hung up on David Ross saying, well, you know, he's never managed before. So? That won't be why he succeeds or fails. If David Ross fails, it won't be because he never managed before. It will be because he wasn't able to put together the right kind of staff, and he wasn't able to motivate people properly. He wasn't able to evaluate people properly. He wasn't able to take all of the analytics that he will get on a daily basis and communicate those analytics to his players in a way that they can take to the field.
And to cultivate the right marathon of a season mentality around the clubhouse.
But he's been in 20 Major League Baseball seasons. He knows how the season's played out. He's been around Bruce Bochy. He's been around Terry Francona. He played for Bobby Cox. He played for Joe Madden. The list, Terry Francona. I mean, I said that. The list goes on. If he succeeds, it will be because he was able to do all of the things that I just said. Period. If Matt Luke fails, ultimately, it will be because he wasn't able to put together a staff and a network that motivated and got that program to the next level. If we look up a year from now, let's say they're still in it, and they're 4-3 through 7 games, we're going to say, look, what'd they do well? They evaluated a lot of kids, they developed those kids, and now those kids have some experience, and boom.
It's fair. Question's unanswerable right now. Will be soon. The start of it. What happens with AD? Who is it? We'll see. I don't know.
How well would Derek Mason do? I don't know. I don't know a lot about him.
Feels like he's going back west.
I mean, I told you yesterday they could beat Kentucky.
One more win from maybe saving this thing again.
They could beat Kentucky. They could beat Tennessee. If they win those 2 games, they're not firing Derek Mason.
As bad as they are.
It's the one outlier in the league because they're never going to have the ability to put together a network.
They've never signed a top 100 player in the Rivals era.
Yeah.
Ever. It's a hell of a stat. You're in the SEC. Neil went 6-5. I went 6-5. Jeffrey went 4-7. Zach went 5-6. Those are against the spread numbers, and we're all fairly mediocre. Jeffrey maintaining a 1-game lead in the overall standings, 36-30 against the spread. I'm 35-31. Neil 34-32, along with Mr. Berry. So that's where we're sitting right
Feels
now.
Feels like the NL Central, just everybody together.
Everybody hanging in.
Everybody just chilling out, sort of mediocre.
But as the calendar begins to turn toward November, they remember November.
They
Somebody's going to pull ahead and get this thing done.
They do, Houston.
They remembered it in 2011 too. Louisiana Tech, that little running back for like 260 yards.
We're 34-point underdogs.
The bear with the box on his head. It's a good night. I really hate you missed that because it takes away so many personal observations that we could be still having to this day. Come to find out, you should not have been in Starkville to talk to Kirby Smart.
No.
We were trying to think ahead. Thought we had some stuff going.
It was a good story.
Was it?
Yeah. You didn't even read it.
I don't remember it. Talked to Manny Diaz too.
I did.
Or his dad.
Talked to his dad.
Former mayor of Miami.
At length. He was interesting.
Was he?
Yes, he was. Seriously.
More interesting than his kid.
Yes.
Yeah. State and A&M, 11 a.m., SEC Network, State plus 10.5. And this starts a theme for me. I'm basically just taking every underdog this week for the most part.
I saw that.
Just going to ride with the points, and we'll see what happens. And a lot of teams aren't very good. And if teams aren't very good, just take the points and hope for some chaos. Got State covering this one against the Aggies. You do as well. You got 24-13. I got 27-20. Jeffrey has A&M routing the Bulldogs and covering. And then Zach has them covering as well. Had to do a little quick math in my head there, so we'll see.
Zach's fandom plays into his picks.
Picks a lot of Ole Miss, picks a lot against State.
Yeah.
It's all good. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a strategy on his part, I suppose.
You think so?
I think he knows the stakes aren't particularly high, so.
Well, he has no stakes.
Right.
None whatsoever, so that's fine. Neil throwing other games into the mix because he's evil. Number 13, Wisconsin, plus 14.5. At number 3, Ohio State, 11 a.m. on Fox. Wisconsin coming off that loss to Illinois. Ohio State may be the best team in the country at the moment. It's at least an arguable point.
Oh, you can definitely argue it.
I like Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to get a little bit of his. I think they're going to sneak inside this number. I think Wisconsin sort of keeps it close.
They better get some help from their quarterback play.
Better score.
Ohio State can
Fields is going to score.
Ohio State can take a dimension away. You better have 2.
If Illinois got 24, Ohio State's going to get more than that.
You better have a dimension or 2.
2.
Need 2. Need more than 2, but you need 2. They'll take 1 away. I like the Buckeyes big.
We can go to our chat for an opinion on this one as we get to it as well, if he's still hanging out. Number 9, Auburn, plus 12.5. At number 2, LSU, 2:30 on CBS. You have LSU covering this thing, 38-23. I've got the Tigers keeping it, or the Auburn Tigers keeping it close. I've got 23-13. Jeffrey taking LSU, 42-27. And Zach taking LSU to cover as well, 34-20 to this one. I love me some Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown, and I think they do just enough to sneak inside that number.
Yeah. I worry about you like Auburn over LSU by at least 22.5 points. Interesting.
Well, we can do some gambling if I'm going to get that line
boy.
now.
If you'll give me LSU plus 22.5, I'm in.
We'll do a lot of gambling.
Man.
We'll go to the bank.
In. Yeah. What time's the bank close? What time does Vegas close? Yeah. I need to get on a plane. Goodness. At least. Oh, I'm fascinated in this. We'll tape G-Pits today. We will actually talk some football on G-Pits this week. If Jay really thinks Auburn's winning in a blowout, I got to hear why.
I think he's playing.
Yeah, I think he's kowtowing to his base.
Pandering a little bit.
Pandering is the word I was looking for.
Okay.
I like LSU. I think they're the best team in the country. I've started
Their defense still bothers me.
It's gotten better though.
Bothers me.
Nix is I think Bo Nix is going to be a very good quarterback. He just feels like freshman growing pains, which are to be expected. Nobody is stopping the LSU passing game right now, and they're running the ball well too.
They are.
Kyle Trask was able to throw against that Auburn secondary. Kyle Trask is no Joe Burrow.
We'll continue that.
If you're Joe Burrow this week, do you wear something underneath your football pants?
I think you just say it's a one-time thing. I think you go with it. Still stay commando this week on the field. Don't change anything. It's working. It's kind of Bull Durham-ish a little bit. If you had a bad game and you changed something, you feel like it was your fault. Feel like you did something to alter the gods a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe the voodoo, hoodoo, whatever it is going on down there. So one more quick break. Tyson Drugs, G&M on South Lamar and Oxford, 662-236-2222. Free flu season is here. They offer flu vaccines available with a $0 copay on most insurance plans. No one has time to wait in line for the overworked pharmacist at the chain drugstore. Let them help you get in and out as quickly and painlessly as possible. Again, Tyson Drugs on the square in Holly Springs. G&M on South Lamar Boulevard just off the square. So 662-236-2222.
We're also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles, great lease deals as well. Go in, tell my friends Gene and Sandy Grass that you heard about it here on the podcast at rebelgrove.com. You'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's Grenada Nissan USA.com. We're also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. Harry's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. Really, no one knows the residential and condo market more thoroughly than he does. He's a big part of Savannah Square. It's a new 9-acre development, 0.7 of a mile from the Oxford downtown square, conveniently located east of North Lamar, just a short stroll from the Midtown Shopping Center. You can check out the model home at 215 William Street. There are also several homes in different stages of development that you can check out as well. SavannahSquareOxford.com or get in touch with Harry, 662-801-5621. We're also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with a personal touch. When you call OUB, you speak directly with a live person. There's no 10 buttons to push. There's no 5-minute wait. What there is Kasasa. It's the absolute best cash checking account. And with Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000 and refund ATM fees nationwide. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured.
So a little bit of scheduling news here, reading from OleMissSports.com. They've announced some a change to the 2020 schedule and a home and home series coming up. So let's see.
What we got?
All right, we'll see. Instead of playing Middle Tennessee next year, Ole Miss is going to have a home date with the UConn Huskies.
Okay.
So UConn coming to town next year instead of Middle Tennessee.
Okay, so they traded a win for a win.
Yeah.
Okay.
UConn, basically doing UConn a favor because UConn is going independent.
Okay.
Remember, so they've got to fill a whole schedule from their conference games. So they're doing UConn a favor. That's what they're doing for next year. I try to work a basketball thing into that.
I would
If I'm
too.
going to do UConn a favor, I'm going to need a favor back,
Yeah.
and it's going to include some hoops.
Yeah, do a home and home with stores.
Yeah,
that'd be
something
good.
like
Yeah,
do
for
that.
Sure.
So Middle Tennessee is going to move to 2024,
Okay.
and then they have got a Big Ten opponent in 2033 and 2034 home and home.
Iowa.
No,
Nah.
sorry.
For just a moment there, my heart soared.
A more winnable home and home.
Purdue.
That is correct. The Boilermakers in 2023, 2033, and 2034.
It's a long time from now, but I've been to West Lafayette before.
Purdue and Ole Miss have
Lovely.
only faced each other once. That was in 1929 in Lafayette, Indiana. It was not West Lafayette at the
Yeah.
moment. It was just Lafayette.
1929.
Yeah.
Big day. Big game. Who won that one?
Purdue, 27-7.
27-7.
Here's a trivia question for you.
Okay.
Very famous game in Ole Miss history. Okay.
Okay.
Who's the last present-day Big Ten school to visit Oxford?
I know.
Okay.
Maryland.
That is correct. The 1952 win for Ole Miss that sort of put them on the map at the time.
Maryland was number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
Big day.
Look at you.
Mm-hmm.
You watched your Century of Heroes videos that went through McRae's in the early 90s?
Seems like I wrote something about that when I was at the Oxford Eagle, when I was starting my fledgling little
About Maryland?
journalism career. Something about that game I was assigned, and I wrote something about it.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So there's your scheduling news. UConn next year. You get to see the Huskies.
Oh, I know what it was. It was
Sure.
Auburn was coming to town at the time, and Auburn was ranked. No, maybe it was Florida. Somebody was coming to town ranked number 1. And so I did a story about the last time a number 1 team came to Oxford.
And that'd been the last time? Really?
Well, it was one of the last times. Hell, I don't know.
You just kind of made it up.
I got an assignment and did it.
Okay. South Carolina -4 at Tennessee, 3 p.m. SEC Network. Neil and I both have the Gamecocks covering this one, as does Jeffrey and as does Zach. I think Carolina's decent. They're okay. I don't think Tennessee's decent to okay. So we're going to take the Gamecocks. Arkansas +32 at number 1 Alabama, 6 p.m. ESPN. Mac Jones getting the start for Alabama instead of Tua. And that means I still have them covering. I was trying to check. Yeah, I do. I have a 33-point win for Alabama. You have Arkansas covering this one.
It's a lot of points, and I just think different quarterback, and it's a lot of points.
Jeffrey has Arkansas covering this one.
My thing is, if you're Alabama, you know what's coming. As soon as the game's done, you got to get dudes off the field.
OSU's next.
Yeah.
A bye and then next.
Yeah. Got to make sure you're healthy. I mean, seriously, if you're up 28-0, don't you get
That's enough.
Jones off the field? What if Tua is not ready in 2 weeks?
Florida in 94, according to a YouTuber.
There you go. That would make sense. That was the year I covered Ole Miss football, 94,
Okay.
for the Eagle.
Gotcha.
Yep, did.
Notre Dame +1. Michigan, the favorite here in Ann Arbor, 6:30 ABC. I took Notre Dame.
I did too.
I'm tired of Shea Patterson,
I'm just tired of Michigan.
just in general.
And Notre Dame's okay. They're okay. I mean, they're overrated, but they're okay.
Vegas messing with Jeffrey, so he took Michigan because they were favored and he didn't understand it.
He's thinking too much.
Well,
But I get it. He's in first place.
Missouri at Kentucky, 6:30 SEC Network. Kentucky has been a pain in Missouri's tail over the years.
Yeah, it's going to rain.
Gabe was highlighting this on Twitter the other
And
day.
Missouri's weird.
They're on the road again.
Yeah.
Until they do something on the road, I'm taking the other team. I got Kentucky covering this one. Got Missouri winning, but 10.5, a lot of points.
I laid them.
Well, you got an obsession with Missouri.
I do. I got a Drew Lock bobblehead right over there.
It's not as good as the Ed Oliver bobblehead.
No, well, there are very few.
Ed riding the horse
That's
is really
a good one.
Thought you had a Cardinals bobblehead for a second, but it's not. It's
Come on.
it's the other dude.
Come on.
It's the
Stop
dude
it.
for the Angels.
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, him.
He plays for my new favorite American League team.
Favorite American League team.
Yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Angels. Sure.
Are you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I like Joe Madden a lot. Big Joe Madden.
Give you
fan.
a late night game
Absolutely.
to follow.
Yeah, I'll follow them.
Going to the NFL, because we're doing that now for some reason, because Neil's trying to catch up. He's putting a lot of Saints game on there. The Arizona Cardinals +7.5 at the New Orleans Saints, noon on Fox.
I was proud of you. fine. If it goes bad,
you know it'll be a one-time thing.
Yeah, this is this is you. You're the little kid dipping his toe in the water.
We're taking the Saints to cover this 7.5 on Sunday. The Cardinals are better. They're playing okay.
Yeah.
Arizona's all right.
Yeah.
Murray's done a decent job.
For a rookie, he's done well.
You have to expect back in the Dome, the Saints are going to get after him on Sunday.
I would think. Yeah, their defense has been so much talk about their quarterback play with Bridgewater.
Defense has won these games in a lot of ways.
Until the last one.
Yeah.
Bridgewater was really good the other day.
He's getting more comfortable. I mean, he had to get back in it.
Before the severe injury, people thought he was going to be a really elite quarterback in the league.
Yeah. He's played well enough that if I'm Sean Payton when the year's over, got to go up to Drew and be like, how much longer are you doing this? I got to prepare here. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Because Bridgewater has played well enough to at least consider him being your next quarterback.
Oh, certainly. Absolutely.
And you can't hold him to him forever because you got to pay him a lot of money as a backup. But
well, with the 40-year-old at quarterback, I'd be thinking about doing that for a minute.
Jeffrey took the Saints as well, simply because he says betting against the Saints is not profitable currently, which is also factual.
They're really good, and they play with a lot of attitude.
Trying to keep pace with the 49ers. Well, yeah, because they're assholes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Peyton is not. We've been over this.
They beat the hell out of my team Sunday, and I was giggling at them.
You kind of like that, though. It's a fine line. You don't really like trash talk, but there's a certain amount of swagger that you're okay with. There's a line there a little bit for you.
Yeah, I like Sean Payton.
And you don't have an emotional attachment to the Bears, because if we could do some sort of thing where we like switch the sports around, you'd be real pissed with a Cardinal measuring Chris Bryant on the field.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Also, the coach is involved in this. Peyton giving it to.
Yeah, it's what shows you that I don't have a.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bears thing for me is fun. I don't whatever.
You don't really care.
No, I mean, I've said this to people before. They're like, I don't see how you don't like one of your alma maters, and I don't see how. When you cheer for the Cubs the way that I have over the years, meaning decades,
there's not much left.
You have an emotional reservoir that is so big. And if it's all spent on that, like I watched the Thunder and the Jazz last night, and I cheered for the Thunder.
Okay.
And they had a lead in the fourth quarter, and I was interested. I stayed up till 10:30 to watch the end of it, but I wasn't emotionally invested. When the game ended, I hit the off button and it was over. You know what I mean? When the Cubs lose a game like that, it takes me a minute.
Well, and especially if you were actually invested in the NFL, because there's only 16.
Yeah.
Everyone's fairly important. It's a week of the baseball season. You know what I mean?
It has made it more fun for me to, quote, have a team.
But you're in the perfect spot because you don't have that emotional thing, too.
Right. I have a team, and so I follow it more.
It's really fun for me Monday through Thursday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Game day sucks. Game day's not fun.
And for me, game day is kind of fun. It's interesting.
Game day was fun when they were 8-8.
Yeah.
Game day's not fun.
That's what I was going to say. Last night, watching the Thunder was more fun than it was when they were a contender.
With the right mindset, a rebuild's fun.
Yeah.
With the right mindset.
Like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander made his Thunder debut last night. The former Kentucky star came over in the – which trade was that? Paul George trade.
Mm-hmm.
He's good. He's fun. You could build around that kid. That's fun. Like, if you're a Grizzlies fan last night, I know they lost, but Ja Morant played well. Like, if you're a Grizzlies fan, that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, you're not worried about it yet anyway.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're thinking, hey, we're going to win a title, well, that's on you. I mean, that's a you problem. But if you're a Grizzlies fan and you watched Morant run around last night and kind of find the open man and stuff, it's like, whoa.
Might have something here.
This is going to be exciting. They might be the most exciting 21-61 team in the history of the NBA, but they're going places. The Thunder's interesting. Like, Chris Paul was engaged last night. Danilo Gallinari engaged last night. Those two guys know that to get out, they have to get in. It's going to make the Thunder fun. And then at the deadline, the Thunder are going to make some moves, and they'll go younger, and they'll lose games, but they're going to get pieces, and it's going to be fun.
NBC not getting what it wanted. It was really set up for a Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers showdown on Sunday night.
Yeah, I don't know that Mahomes is going to go.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily sound. Either way, he's not a full strength than what we thought we were getting. I'm taking the Chiefs anyway at home for a night game. The Packers are good. Aaron Rodgers, obviously elite. I don't necessarily love them long term to run up some 14-2, and so this feels like one of those games they lose.
You're probably right. I watched him last week, and whoa.
I'm very happy the Saints do not play them in the regular season. I'll say that.
Be interesting.
They're why it matters to get home field. I don't want anything to do with Lambeau late January. Now, the Saints are a little more built for that than in some years past.
Saints Packers at Lambeau late January would be you'd hate it. I'd be glued. Popcorn just ready.
Rodgers, Breeze, the whole deal.
That'd be awesome. I mean, yeah. Yeah, just being a casual fan.
I need the 49ers app because I do not need the PTSD of having to go back to Candlestick or Levi Stadium or whatever the heck it's called after that 2011 thing.
You'll be happy to know that Candlestick does not exist anymore.
Good. Burn that.
It's gone.
That's good.
They've put like a condominium.
I'm still seeing Vernon Davis catch touchdown passes just over and over and over and over and over again. Just nonstop.
When you fly into San Francisco, you to get to the city, you drive by what used to be Candlestick Park, and Candlestick Point now is like home to upscale condos and stuff. The more you know.
The more you know. Okay. Fair enough. That wraps that part of the show up. Again, we've got a lot on the site. We've got picks. You can go read some of the commentary. I haven't even read the captions yet, so I don't know what's going on with McCready's captions this morning or anything along those lines. The Phillies have hired Joe Girardi. Seeing that on the top of the ticker.
Yeah. The Mets wouldn't pay him.
Padres hire the Rangers Tingler as manager.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. I was kind of hoping they would hire Mark Loretta.
Yeah, I'm reading that as well. So anyway, just some stuff. Yeah, Nats 12, Astros 3, 2-0 headed back to Washington. They get a day off. They'll have Game 3 tomorrow.
Yep.
For that one. Nationals wearing the same batting helmets Neil has on today. Just looking at the pictures.
Does the season end this weekend, or does it go back to Houston next week?
I think it goes back to Houston.
Okay.
I think Houston wins 2 of the next 3, and I think it is 3-2 Nats going back for Game 6.
Ooh. Okay.
That is what I believe.
The plan is to tape a Greatest Pod in the South this afternoon with my good friend Mr. Tate, and I think I'm taping a beer garden with Nats fan Ryan Brown. We'll talk some football as well later this afternoon, so hopefully we'll have those podcasts up to you in the next 24 to 36 hours.
We'll be back with a Fire Away Friday tomorrow to finish out the week, and we'll talk to you then. Peace.